Hey YouTube, it's Justin, aka Demonic Sweaters, here with another electronic drum video. Now some of you who watch my channel already might know that I converted my Tama Club Jam mini kit, which is sitting right behind me, into an electronic set, and right now I'm using a Roland TD-6 drum module on it. And so today I figured I would show you guys how to upgrade the Roland TD-6 module to the newest firmware that they made available for it, as well as how to back up and restore some patches. Now what I'm going to be doing is actually taking the patches that I have off of this one that's sitting behind me and going over to my other studio where I have another Tama Club Jam flyer with also a TD-6 module on it that needs to have the firmware updated, as well as all the patches that I created on this one. I want to transfer over to that one over there because that's the one I take with me when I play live out. Now we're going to need a couple of things to make this work, one being a laptop. I'm going to be using a MacBook Pro.
Alright, this is where things started to go really bad. So, I'd done this same exact thing before with the module that's sitting behind me in this scene, and I used my desktop PC, and everything worked just fine. I figured, hey, I'll just use my MacBook. It'll be just the same, right? Nope. So, I'm going to go ahead and go through the rest of this video, and you'll see all the hell that I went through because I decided to use my MacBook rather than a PC, just to save you the trouble of doing this in the future. Now, if you want to skip to the end and see how to do this quickly and easily, there'll be some timestamps down below where you can do that. But for now, here's the rest of this torturous video.
You can use any laptop. This will work with any Windows, Linux, or Mac laptop as long as you have a program on it that can record and send MIDI tracks. That's really all you need, and then we're going to do everything else with the module and just recording some MIDI right here onto the laptop. Before we get started on the rest of this video though, I wanted to ask you guys to please follow me on Spotify, Demonic Sweaters, as well as check out my record label, which is anthillrecordings.bandcamp.com. Now let's go ahead and get started on the rest of this video. Okay, the first thing we're going to want to do is download the firmware for the TD-6. Now, even if you're using Mac or PC, you're going to want to download the PC version. Now the reason why, and the reason why I say that, let me just go back here so you can see, there's actually two versions on Roland's website. There's a Mac version and a PC version. The reason is the TD-6 firmware that they uploaded for the Mac was made with like an old version of Stuff-It expander or Stuff-It compressor, and so it will no longer expand on a modern Mac system. If you're using an old Mac system, it might work just fine, but a modern one, it doesn't seem to work. So you're going to want to download the PC version. The files are exactly the same. The only difference is the PC version was compressed in zip format, and the Mac version was compressed with the .sit format. So I'm going to go ahead and download the PC version right here. Now, if you're using PC, you're also going to want to download this PC SMF file. And same with the Mac version, there's the UPD SMF update application. You'll want one of those. Now the problem is, if we try to open up either of these, it takes us basically, on the PC one, it takes us to a dead link. And then on the Mac version, it just takes us to this gigantic list of every downloadable update and driver that Roland offers. And you can't find it in there anywhere. Luckily, I have located both of these files on the internet at various places, one for PC and one for Mac, and I will post those on my website for you guys to download them. So I'll post a link down below where you can download one of those. And what those do is actually transfer the firmware to the module itself. So we're going to need both the firmware and, using my link down below, the update application to transfer the firmware to your TD-6. Now the next thing we're going to want to do is back up our existing patches on our TD-6. So I have Reaper here open, and I want to enable my generic MIDI cable that I have plugged into Reaper to allow it to see that as an input and output. So I'm just going to enable it in both input and output in Reaper. This may be different if you're using a different program, or if you already have your MIDI connection set up, you won't have to worry about this. But I'm going to go ahead and do that there. And I'm going to start a new project. Okay, then I'm just going to add a track. All right, so now I set up a MIDI track and I set it to record, and I have my generic MIDI cable here selected as the MIDI input. And just using all channels. Sorry if you can't really see that very well. Let me zoom in there. There we go. So all channels, generic MIDI cable selected. Okay, next we're gonna head over to the TD-6 and we're gonna go into Shift and Edit. Then under Utility, if we press the right arrow key, we'll eventually get over to Bulk Dump. And that's what we want. And once we have that selected, we're gonna press Enter. Okay, then next we go into our DAW again and we press Record. Start recording the MIDI channel. Then we go back over to the module. And we're just gonna press Enter to start the dump. And then it'll say, are you sure? Say Enter again. Then it starts transmitting. Now you don't really see anything being written to the file. It's just the way it is. It's only writing SysEx data, so it's not really gonna look like any like standard MIDI files that you see with music. It's basically just gonna look like a block of gray blankness like that. But that's okay. And it can take quite a while to transmit all the data because it's just going over a MIDI connection. So basically, you know, you just have to wait. It's gonna take about 5 to 10 minutes depending on how much stuff you have in there. All right, once it completes, it'll say completed, which it already did that. I didn't catch it to record fast enough, but it did complete. Then you can go ahead and press stop on your DAW, and then I'm just gonna save this. Now the next step is to head over to the studio and transfer all this data over to the other module. All right, I'm here at my studio with the other TD-6 module and ready to update the firmware. One thing I forgot to mention is when you download the firmware from the Roland website, it actually says TD-6V. There is no firmware update for the TD-6, like the regular TD-6, but essentially what this does is actually turns the TD-6 into the TD-6V. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how to do this. All right, I've got my MIDI cables hooked up here in the back and it's connected to my MacBook, which is over there, but you can't see it, it's off camera. Now, there are some crazy instructions to how to boot this thing up in order to update the firmware. So I'm gonna go through this, and I have the camera on a tripod, and let's turn it off, and hopefully I can narrate this while I'm doing it because it's actually kind of complicated, but I'll see what I can do. So, get these headphones out of the way. All right, so what we're gonna do is first we're going to turn off the power if it's on, and then we're gonna power on the TD-6 while holding edit and stop at the same time. So let's find the edit key, and then the stop key over here. So let's turn it on, and now, we are going to let go of the edit key, release the edit key, but keep holding stop, and then we're gonna press kit, hold down kit, okay? And now, you'll see the kit light up, and now we're gonna continue holding down kit, and now we're gonna release stop, and now we're gonna press the song button. And then the record button comes on, and now I can release all buttons. Okay, now after a short pause, we should get the record light, or something should come up here. Okay, now it says play. Now at this point I can transmit the firmware from the laptop over to the module. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so here I have the UPD SMF program from Roland, or the one that I provided the download link for, and let's select my MIDI output. So we have the USB MIDI cable here. And then I've already selected the folder here with the TD-6 firmware in it, but let me just show you how to do that anyway. So let's go to select, and then go to wherever you save the folder. And in my case, I saved mine in my downloads folder. So let's go ahead and select that folder there, and then click open. And then you should see the entire list of MIDI files for the firmware update in the window here. Once you have that all set up, double check and see if your module's still in the update setting. There should be nothing on the screen and the play button lit up if you went through all those instructions correctly. And now let's go ahead and press send and cross our fingers. Okay, so hopefully that's working. And I believe it is because what you'll see is some buttons on the TD-6 will light up and go off and light up and go off. And usually you get a little more status over here on the computer, but let me plug in my power adapter just in case something weird happens. Now I'm a little bit nervous here because I'm not really seeing much from my program here. When I did this on PC, I got a lot more info as to what was happening, but I'm just going to cross my fingers and hopefully it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And I believe it is. Okay, so the button just changed again. It went to record for a second there and then to play. Now it's back to part mute. So I'm going to ignore what's going on over here and just continue to let this thing go. It can take quite a while. And as long as those buttons are changing colors on the module, it's actually updating. So I'm going to go ahead and wait about 5 to 10 minutes and we'll see what it does. All right, so I think the update completed. The part mute, record button, and play button all stopped flashing and going on and off, and now it's just on click tempo. However, the Mac version of the program still looks like that, but it hasn't changed from that since the beginning. And I did see the MIDI light flashing and data going through there while it was doing its thing. So hopefully it really worked. But if you're watching this and you're thinking about doing the same, I highly recommend using the PC version instead of the Mac version, so you don't have this problem. Because when I did this on my other one via PC, I didn't have any of these issues. So I hate to do this, but I'm going to have to turn it off and turn it back on. I mean, that's what I'm supposed to do anyways. And hopefully it worked. And we'll find out here in a second. So here's the moment of truth. Turning it off. Okay. And let me go ahead and I'm going to force close this program here just in case it's still doing something weird. Well, actually, I'll just unplug the MIDI. Just do that. All right, now let's go ahead and turn it back on and cross our fingers. And that's not looking great. Shit. All right, that did not work. So I'm actually trying it again. I restarted everything. And now we have a more normal looking file progress bar there that's empty. And the module seems to be doing its thing. But if this doesn't work this time, I'm just going to take this module home and do it on my PC. Because I know that way works. Fortunately, if it fails, you can still get into the mode for it to update the firmware. So I was worried about that, but I think then we don't have a problem with that. So hopefully it'll work this time, but if it doesn't, I'm going to try again. Well, actually, you know what I could do is I could try running it from these MIDI, basically MIDI files from my computer in Reaper. So maybe I'll try that if this fails. Alright, unfortunately it appears to be frozen again. So I'm going to have to scarily shut this thing off and then try it a different way. But this goes to show, just don't do this on a Mac. Use a PC, it will go much easier. But I'm going to go ahead and cancel this and we'll see if we can rescue it. Alright, so now what I've done is imported all the MIDI files into Reaper, all the firmware MIDI files, that is, the SysX MIDI files, into Reaper, and I'm going to try to update the firmware this way through Mac. And if this works, what I'm going to do then is I'll just upload this whole Reaper file to my website for you guys to download. But let's go ahead and press play and cross our fingers. See if it works. At least here we can see what it's actually doing and how far it's actually getting along. And you can see it's a pretty long file. It's going to take a while to do this. So yeah. Anyway, we'll just let it go, and hopefully it does its thing. Oh wait, that's probably not working because I didn't select my MIDI output. So let me do that again. All right, now I've got my MIDI cable selected as the output. So now hopefully this should work. Let's make sure we rewind back to the beginning. We're still in the correct mode there on the module. And go ahead and press play here, and we'll see what it does. And it looks like it's working. Okay, so we'll just let it do its thing, and hopefully this will complete this time and we won't have any issues. Alright, this has taken a ridiculously long amount of time, but we're getting towards the end here, as you can see. And it does seem like that it's been working okay. See the MIDI light flashing there on my MIDI interface. And then once it reaches the end of one of those MIDI files, you'll see the record light come on. Should come on here pretty soon, and then it'll switch over to play only, then it'll go back to part mute. See, just like that. Now it's going to go back to part mute again once it starts reading another one of the files here in a second. There it goes. So it looks like there's 2 more, and once those finish, then it should be good, I hope. Now another thing, you could make this go faster by speeding up your BPM, but I actually couldn't get it to read anything above 240. So that's why it's taken a little while. I first tried 120, and that was taking like a ridiculously long amount of time. So I was like, I have to speed this up a little bit. So I set it to 240, and it seems to be, you know, it's a reasonable amount of time. It's like 25 minutes, which I think is about what it took when I was updating it with the Roland app. It took about 20-25 minutes. So I think that's probably about the fastest it can go. So we're on the last file here, and should be coming up. I'm getting a notification there. And we're just about done. So let's go ahead and film the module here and see if we get a flashing play button at the end. And that'll tell us that we've completed our update. So let's cross our fingers. Coming up here pretty soon. Or flashing song button, rather. And it looks like it did win. Looks like it finished. I don't know why I said win, but okay. Probably because I was looking at my goals on my Apple Watch and something about a win and a goal there came up there. Anyway, let's go ahead and shut it off. And now when I turn it back on, okay, so now it said backup in G, execute, reset all, press enter, and we have to do that to get back into the system. So let's go ahead and press enter. Press enter again, completed, and there we are. So it actually worked. All right, so now part 2, I'm going to restore all of my custom made patches that I backed up earlier today. So this part's actually pretty easy. We don't have to do anything on the module, you just leave it alone. And then I'm gonna open up my Reaper file here that I created earlier. So let's go to my recent projects. TD-6 dump. And let's go ahead and save this project so I can give that to you guys, all you Mac users out there. All right, now let's just go ahead and play this back. Oh wait, let me select my audio out, or my MIDI output. Make sure you do that. Okay. Now if I just play this back, it should just automatically import on the module. So let's go ahead and play it. Make sure we rewound to the beginning. And let's see what it does. There it goes. So data receiving, please wait. Just have to let that complete over there. Uh-oh, checksum error. Rats. Okay, let's try that again. That was weird. I wonder why that happened. Let's just try it again. Maybe we just had a little issue. Now, once again, I highly recommend using a PC to do this, because when I did this on the other one, yeah, using my PC, I did not have these kind of issues. So something is going on here with this MIDI file, and I'm not sure what it is. All right, so unfortunately, we're going to have to continue this at a later date because I don't have another backup of the other module with me. So really the only one that I had was that one. I was thinking I could get one off of Google Drive, but that one isn't as updated as the one that I had at home. So I want to go ahead and try to dump that again. I'll just do it on my PC, or probably on Linux, I think, on my PC Linux laptop, and then bring that over either tomorrow or the next day. So going to continue this video later. All right, so I'm back here at home and I'm redumping the data from my other TD-6 module over to Reaper in Linux this time, and we'll see if this works. Hopefully it will. I'm also gonna do another backup, one in Reaper, and then I'll do one in some other program in Linux, maybe Ardor, or some other MIDI capable program. We'll see, not sure what yet. It'd be really nice if there was some way to verify the MIDI dumps, but there's really not. I guess the way that you verify them is to see if they'll import. But that's pretty much it. Okay, so we're at 86%, 87, 88, 89, 90. I know this is kind of a long and boring video. I really didn't think it would be this much trouble, but I guess it kind of goes to show that you never know, what can happen with this kind of thing. Okay, I finished. So let's go ahead and save that. And it looks like we got some SysX data there. So let's save this. TD-6 dump 8821. Okay. Hopefully that'll work. All right, so the second backup, I've decided to use this program called QTractor, which is a really simple DAW for Linux that is kind of hit or miss, honestly, but you know, it can do certain things, all right? So let's go ahead and try to do the MIDI dump using QTractor. So let's go ahead and record. Some stuff like this that I always hated about this program. Every time you hit record, it makes you name the file before it even does anything. So TD-6 dump, and let's choose our directory. Okay. And okay, so now we're recording. Let's go ahead and press enter and see if it does anything. So hopefully this one works. It stopped recording. That's great. Okay, so that is the kind of thing I always hated about this program. So let's go ahead and exit that. I'm just not going to use this one. Let's try something else. Let's use an old standard of Linux, which is Ardor. So let's see if we have better luck with Ardor. No, I was having trouble with Ardor already. Fuck! Okay, so after all of that nonsense, we're gonna do this a much better way. Number one, use a Windows laptop. And that's what I have right here. Actually, this is the one I was using before. I reinstalled Windows on it. I did have Linux a few days ago, but now no more. So another thing we're going to use, rather than backing up our patches to a DAW, we're going to be using this nifty little program called MIDI-OX. I love this little program. I've used it a bunch of times, and it's free. You can download it. I'll post a link down below. And what we're going to do is open up in MIDI-OX. Well, first off, you need to select your MIDI device. Make sure you have your correct MIDI input selected, which I already do. And then we're going to go to View, and then we're going to go to SysX down here. And this will open up this little window right here that looks like, basically it just looks like a blank window. And then we're going to go on under the SysX command drop-down menu. Just go to Receive Manual Dump. Oh, not that. Receive manual dump. Okay, now it's basically waiting to receive the dump from the module. So we're just going to go back over to the module like we did before, and we're going to go to Shift and then Edit. Go into MIDI bulk dump. Sorry, just bulk dump, and then dump all. Press enter, then enter again, and now you can see that it is receiving all that data. And this is just a much easier way, in my opinion, than using a DAW. It's just, I don't know, just easier. It's a lot less stuff you have to deal with. So go ahead and let that finish, and then I'll come back after that gets done. All right, so once it finishes, you're gonna end up with something that looks kind of like this. A bunch of hexadecimals in this bottom window here. Then all you have to do is just save this. You just go to File. Oh, sorry. No, it's in a weird spot. It's in, where is it? It's in under Display window. Go to Save As, and then you just name it whatever you want and save it. I already saved this one right here, and you can see it right there, 8.10.MIDI-OX. So, and that's it. Now, let's go back over and see if all this works this time. All right, so here we are, trying this again. So hopefully it'll work this time. I think it will. Well, I said that before and it didn't. But never mind my neighbor over there practicing his double bass. I'll give him credit. He does that up. He does that for a really long time. So he's probably should be getting some chops by now. Anyway, here we go. Let's do it. So we're gonna go ahead, go back to the SysX window here, and then we're going to go to SysX. Wait, make sure you can see that. command window, and then send SysX. This is MIDI-OX again. Okay, so there it's sending. Now let's look at the TD-6. Data receiving. Come on, no checksum errors this time. That's definitely longer than it went before. MIDI-OX is like the coolest program. Like, I don't understand why there's nothing else like this. Like, I've used MIDI-OX for years, actually, like doing various things, a lot of different synthesizers and modules and backing up MIDI of all different types. It's just a really, really great program. It's really old too, but it does still seem to work. So I'm gonna let that do its thing, and then I'll be back after it finishes. All right, it worked. MIDI-OX to the rescue. Well, PC to the rescue. But there we go. There's all my patches that I had on my other module, and they're all there. So it worked perfectly, worked like a charm. Just use a PC, everybody. Don't even mess with a Mac to do something like this. I'm not saying Macs are bad, but they're bad at doing this. So yeah, use a PC. But anyway, all right, so just to clarify what you need to do here, in case it was a little confusing with that kind of mess of a video, first you're gonna need to back up your existing patches from your module using the program MIDI-OX. Once you do that, then you can download the firmware, and using the link below, the PC transfer tool from the Roland website, you can use that to transfer the firmware to your module, which will wipe out all of the existing data, and then you use MIDI-OX to restore your backup that you saved earlier. This won't wipe out the update or anything, it'll just basically restore all the patches and settings that you had in the module before you updated it. So that's basically all you have to do. It's really not that difficult, and I didn't think this video would take this long to do it. Because like I said, when I did my other one, it worked so easily, and it took me like 10 minutes to do, and like it was done. But this time I just had a whole bunch of trouble because I used the Mac. But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody, and don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell icon if you want to get notified every time I upload new content. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out my record label, anthillrecordings.bandcamp.com. You can support me by buying a CD there. That would really help. All right, see you guys really soon. Take care.